So the first thing I wanted to talk about is creating the first Iceberg table. Okay. So before you get started, I think this question also came up in the beginning. Before you start, I'm just kind of assume here we're going to use Spark SQL. You can use, PySpark, Spark Shell, all the usual Spark suspects. But the first part of it is you want to include a specific package. And this is the Iceberg Spark runtime package. You can, when you build your Spark image, you can just include it. If you don't include it, you can load it at runtime. And if you go to the Iceberg website, you can see kind of the latest one is the update versions. You can go pick up the latest version. That's the first line. And then the subsequent lines are talking about configuring the catalog, the Iceberg catalog that we need to work with. The first config line, the extensions, just basically registers the Iceberg extensions into Spark. So this gives you the ability to call different Iceberg function, to look at metadata or system tables related to Iceberg. If you don't have it there, you can't do most of those things. So you gotta have it. The second config line is configuring a catalog. In this case, I call it glue. The word glue after catalog is just a name. I can give it anything I want. But it's an Iceberg, it's a Spark catalog. The implementation of that catalog is the glue catalog implementation. It's slightly different than Hive. But anyway, that's just it. And then the bottom configuration, just say, hey, I want to write all of my tables into this particular location in S3. Not that complex, pretty straightforward if you've done some work with Spark in the past. Okay, so what does creating Iceberg tables actually look like? Right now, I'm just using Spark SQL, as you saw before. Very, very simple. There's not a lot of complexity here. The first thing is you want to use the catalog that you just created, right? Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch my share to show you my. All right. Where'd it go? Okay. Cool. So hopefully you can see the screen. Hopefully it's not too small. So what we want to do, actually, you know what? Let me change this. Sorry, a little sharing. All right. So we can see here that we can use the glue catalog. We want to create a database. I already created one. And then we want to create a table. In this case, we're going to just very, very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be able. So let's see. Show tables. Let's see what we already have. Make sure it's big enough. All right. So I already have a test table. We can select star from test. See if there's anything in there. Should be something. Yeah, there's a little bit, some other tests that I did. So we can create table. We're going to call it test2. And we're going to give it kind of the same thing. So we do ID int, name string, and we're going to say we're using Iceberg, right? And this is going to create a table for us that uses Iceberg. Now, there's nothing in it. There's really nothing going on in this table. One thing I wanted to do, and we can go where this here. So let's go look at this. So basically, this is doing a listing of files in S3 where I store my data. So you can see up here is my Spark warehouse. This is the location I defined. IceDB is my database, and then test2 is the table. Underneath it, there's a metadata and there's a data folder. So I'm looking right now inside the metadata. As I mentioned before, right, there's a few things in here. The first one is this JSON file. So this is the pointer. So when the glue catalog says, hey, where's test number 2 table, it points to this particular file. So this is the entry point. Now this particular file says, okay, where do I begin? Right? So it points and it says, okay, the first snapshot is this particular Avro snapshot. So once we do that, maybe we can take a quick look at it. To go back, so there's a lot of typing here, right? So now that we have it, we can go look at this JSON file. And we can see that it tells us the format, it tells us the location, right? So this is the location where data is stored. Some timestamp, it gives us the schema. So this is the schema. We have a field name ID, it's type integer, it's the first, it gives it an ID. This allows Iceberg to kind of, if you want to rearrange columns inside the file, it gives it ID, so it can do it. And then kind of go down, and there's not a whole lot here, right? It's kind of empty. There's not much to do here. And then what we can do is we can also grab the actual where are they? The Avro file. So the first Avro file that we want to grab is this snapshot, right? So I'm going to bring it in here. Okay, now there's a little bit of a song and dance that I got to do here. So give me a second to convert into JSON, because I don't know how to read Avro, right? So now we can do snap.json, right? And then we can see that there's this very basic snapshot, right? It tells me that the manifest path is this. And if you remember, maybe you don't remember all the labels, but if you remember, this is the Avro file that we saw there as well. It tells me how big the manifest is. It tells me what content type it is, if it's like a new file that was added or anything like that. This is the snapshot ID. And then that's it. There's really nothing in it. It also tells me that there are 4 rows added in my particular thing, but actually this is probably not there yet. Okay, so this is my snapshot. Now I'm going to try to pull in the manifest. So I'm not going to do this for everything just because it takes forever. As you can see, need to find it. Second, so this is the snapshot. This, and we're going to bring it in. Cool. And now we need to just convert the Avro into JSON. A little bit slow here. That's it. And then we can oh, wait, I call it snap again. Never mind. All right, cool. So in this case, now we can see that it's the same snapshot ID. We can see that there's a file path here, right? So this is the actual Parquet file, right? So this particular manifest file points to the actual physical file that was created, and you can kind of see all this information in here. We're not going to go into this in detail, but you can kind of see all this information that you want. So that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to switch over to here. So if we do select star from test 2, I think one of the problems is I've used this before. Okay, there's nothing here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to insert. So insert into test 2 values, and then we're going to do one right. Oops. Do 2. And then we'll do 3 for a good friend Jason. And then we'll see this, right? Oops. And all right, cool. So now we see the files here. If we switch back to the presentation here, hopefully you guys can see this okay. I believe so. Oh, sorry. You can see this. Okay, cool. So now that we have this data inserted, the next thing is we have these system tables. So now that you've done some work and you want to understand kind of how things went and what happened, you can actually use some of these. And there's a lot more of these that you can use. But you can start by this. So let's take a look at one of the tables. So we're gonna select star from. We gotta use our catalog name in this case. Right? You can't just use the table name. We call it test2. And then at the end of your table, there's a bunch of these extensions, right? So we can call history, right? And we can see that there's only one entry in the history table, and this is the primary, basically the primary snapshot that we're using. And then we can go in here and we can say something like snapshots. And then you can see, okay, there's one snapshot. It's kind of hard to read here, but there's one snapshot that was appended, right? Data was appended into it. And you're able to kind of see that this is the manifest file that was created. There's a bunch of information here, how many records were inserted. See, total records were 3 records. How many data files were added. You can see that there's 3 data files here. If we go back here, I'm going to get out of here and go into S3, into my Spark location, and then we have a test2 table. Then we can see that we have metadata and data. We see there's a bunch of manifest files here as well. And then go into the data, and we see that there's a bunch of files. Now, there's a lot more files in here because unfortunately, I made a mistake. I didn't delete my old stuff. So we're kind of seeing duplicates here.